Way too early NASCAR 2024 season predictions. Let's get into it. Coming up next. What's going on? All right, let's get right into the predictions. But before we do, we lost one of the greatest of all time. So we're going to start off with a quick moment of tribute. All right, so first things first, let's just start off with pretty much what everybody cares about in the playoff era. Who's going to be the 16? And to me, the best way of looking at who is going to be the 16 in 2024 is who was the 16 last year. So, of course, Blaney, Larson, Byron, and Bell, they were your final four. I don't think those guys are going anywhere. Then you've got Hamlin, Reddick, Buescher, and Keselowski. RFK had a great improvement in performance last season, so I don't expect either one of them to go anywhere. The only one you might be able to make an argument for falling out here, but I'm going to leave him in, is Hamlin, because eventually at some point, you're going to age out. You're going to see what happened to Jimmie Johnson when Jimmie Johnson just all of a sudden just wasn't the same Jimmie Johnson we remembered. At some point, that's going to happen with Hamlin and Truex, but we're going to go on down the list here. Chastain, Bubba Wallace, Martin Truex Jr., and Joey Logano. I don't see any of those guys not making the playoffs next season. Maybe you can make an argument for Truex. Maybe you can make an argument for Bubba Wallace. Bubba Wallace has the same problem Ricky Stenhouse Jr. has. A lot of DNFs. So if he has a strong DNF season and doesn't get a win, maybe you can make an argument that he's not in it. But I think Bubba is in next season. Martin Truex Jr., he is always going to be in it unless he ages out. Like I was talking about with Jimmie Johnson. Does he hit that wall that Jimmie Johnson seemed to have hit toward the end of his career? So you can make that argument for him and Hamlin. Then, of course, the final ones here, you've got Harvick, Kyle Busch, Michael McDowell, and Ricky Stenhouse. And then, obviously, I'm going to leave Kyle Busch in there. But obviously, Harvick retiring, he's not going to be in the playoffs next season. And you can make an argument that Michael McDowell won't be in. And I think you can make a pretty strong argument that Ricky Stenhouse Jr. won't be in there. So those are three right there off the top of my head that you could possibly plug somebody in. You're always going to have a surprise winner in the season. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. was a surprise winner last season. Michael McDowell, although they have continued to build over there at front row, I don't necessarily know that they have the best equipment, so I could see him going either way. I think talent-wise, Michael McDowell would always be in the playoffs if the car was to a certain standard, like a Hendrick car or something like that, but he's not necessarily in a Hendrick car or that level of equipment, so it could go either way there. So then let's look at who I would replace those three with. Harvick, obviously, easy to replace him with Chase Elliott. I think everybody knows and agrees Chase Elliott would have been in the playoffs this year if it hadn't been for the suspension. And then, of course, the incident with the snowboarding accident there, which was a freak incident. Then there's some other interesting guys you could look at here, too. Ty Gibbs had a really good season. You could easily see Ty Gibbs sliding in there, and we're going to talk about him more later with my sort of random picks. I could easily see Ty Gibbs going in there. Then you've got Alex Bowman as well. I think Alex Bowman would easily be in there. Hendrick gets 4 cars in the playoffs quite often, so I don't think it's a leap that one of the best teams in the sport right there. So I think Chase Elliott, Alex Bowman, definitely going to be in the playoffs. Then you can make an argument for maybe a Ty Gibbs or a Daniel Suarez, but the one I want to put in there at third, easily Gibbs or Suarez could be there, but I think I'm going to put Erik Jones in there, and that's going to get to a bigger point that I make later on. But I've got Erik Jones, Chase Elliott, and Alex Bowman in my 16, along with the 16 who are already in. So just to recap that, my 2024 16 is going to be Blaney, Larson, Byron, Bell, Hamlin, Reddick, Buescher, Keselowski, Chastain, Bubba Wallace, Martin Truex Jr., Joey Logano, Chase Elliott, Kyle Busch, Erik Jones, and Alex Bowman. Okay, so the 16 are super important, but it really doesn't matter because nobody, at least I don't really care in the playoffs. I don't care for the playoffs anyway, but anyway, nobody cares about the playoffs until you get to that final 8 and then the final 4. So let's look at my final 8 and final 4. My final 8 are going to be some combination of this. Kyle Larson, William Byron, Christopher Bell, Kyle Busch. I feel strong about them getting into the final 8. I feel strong about Joey Logano getting into the final 8, and I feel strong about Chase Elliott getting into the final 8. But then you've got the Hamlin and the Truex issue. Will one of those guys age out? And here's where I guess it gets spicy or controversial or whatever. If Hamlin or Truex ages out, I've got Hamlin and Truex in the final 8 as it stands now. But if one of them just all of a sudden falls off that cliff due to age, I could easily see Ross Chastain or Erik Jones getting in there. Yes, I know I'm big on Erik Jones, and I'm going to get into that in just a minute, but I could see Erik Jones or Ross Chastain being in there. So depending on how you call it, my final 8 is going to be Larson, Byron, Bell, Busch, and Ross Chastain, Erik Jones, Joey Logano, and Chase Elliott, or, flip out, Ross Chastain or Erik Jones for Hamlin or Truex. It's preseason. It's way too early. We're having fun with it. And then, of course, my final 4 is going to be Kyle Larson, Kyle Busch, Christopher Bell, and William Byron. I think that is that's just how I see next season going. Then, of course, we've got the Rookie of the Year, where you've got Josh Berry, Carson Hocevar, and Zane Smith. I think it's going to be a really good battle. I don't know how much technical support and help Spire is going to get from Trackhouse. I'm sure it'll be a lot for at least Zane Smith. Carson Hocevar, I feel like, is probably the most chaotic, but I feel like he's got the highest ceiling. Of those rookies, I feel like Carson Hocevar has the highest ceiling, but he's also the streakiest. Like, he's going to have more good finishes, but he's also going to have more DNFs. I could see Carson Hocevar maybe winning a race, and if he wins that race, he wins Rookie of the Year. Otherwise, if Carson Hocevar doesn't win a race, I think it's going to be between Josh Berry and Zane Smith. But I don't know. It's just so wild and wide open. But I'm leaning toward Carson Hocevar possibly winning a race and winning Rookie of the Year. If that doesn't happen, I will hedge my bets here and go with Josh Berry. I'm going to go with Josh Berry because I feel like he's going to be in the better overall equipment. And I can already hear a lot of you talking about, but Stewart-Haas was terrible. They've been on a downward spiral for a long time. And that gets me into my random picks for 2024. And one of those random picks is Stewart-Haas Racing is going to be on the incline. I think they're going to start working their way back up the ladder. They're going to be the Stewart-Haas that we remember them being. So that is one of my random picks. Another random pick that I've got Brad Keselowski winning a race. He probably should have won a race this season, but I definitely see Brad Keselowski winning a race next season for RFK. To go along with the Stewart-Haas thing, I think you could possibly see Josh Berry at a short track or Chase Briscoe at kind of whatever track. I think one of those guys is going to win a race for Stewart-Haas Racing next season, so that is another random pick there. Erik Jones, which I've talked about, and Legacy Motor Club will raise up, and part of the reason they raise up is because Toyota, despite everybody complaining about how the new car looks, I think Toyota designed that car with a very strong purpose to race in the Cup Series because they're Toyota and they're not racing the Camry anywhere else, so I think they designed that Camry specifically, the one you see on the road, they designed it in a certain way so that it would be really fast in the Cup Series, and I think Toyota is absolutely going to dominate next season, or at least halfway. If you look at the halfway mark and beyond, I see Toyota dominating the Cup Series next season, even though everybody's going to complain about what the car looks like because it's ugly or whatever. And even though I'm totally going to contradict myself here because I think Carson Hocevar has a chance of winning, and I said that Josh Berry might get a win with Stewart-Haas Racing, I'm going to say that no rookie wins a race and no rookie makes the 16. So that is my other random rookie prediction there. And, of course, the final one is that Ty Gibbs in those super fast Toyotas that I'm predicting for next season, Ty Gibbs is going to break through and get that win. All right, that is all I got for you on this one. If you made this far, I would love to have your subscription. If not, I'll keep making these things. If you got a question, comment, or anything like that, let me know. Let me know what I was wrong about in my preseason. This is for fun, so I'm probably wrong about a lot of stuff. But let me know your predictions down below. And other than that, thanks for your time. Peace. If you want to check out the merch store, that link is in the description, and I forgot to do it once again.